What do you think about this?
Oh my God! What the heck?
You don't know it's over. You don't know. He ain't get the memo. It's over. It's over.
Oh my
But
God!
speaking of that, there's a lot of
What a shark ate him or something?
It was a regular fish just bit it.
Take a bite of that. That ain't nothing.
But speaking of biting fish,
I feel like that's the closest we would ever get to taking a bite of a cloud.
Sweet sushi.
But it's dead. That thing was alive.
It's fresh. That's fresh. It's fresh.
Eat it. Eat all of it.
You know what? That's why diseases spread. I'm telling. Ooh.
Put love and put soul in your food, and you'll live too.
Yeah, he bit the chopstick. But you can't say it's not fresh though, right? You can't say it's not fresh.
That is 100% fresh. That is go to the hospital fresh. Poison fresh.
I got food poisoning.
Contamination of the world fresh.
I was eating some sushi and it bit my tongue.
Oh!
I'll eat you.
Oh.
My tongue feels like kind of thick.
See,
Do you want the last bite? But the last bite is perfect.
Oh my God!
You're perfect. You're a last bite worthy friend.
I love you, dude. I love you so much. I love you, dude. Welcome to the Urban Suite with me, Dr. Lisa Lacan. How are you all doing? Listen, you guys, my Urbanites, it's February. In February, two big things happen in February. Number one is Black History Month. And number two, it's the month of Valentine's Day coming up in next week. So tonight we have a special guest in the Urban Suite because a lot of you all may not know, but my husband and I are launching on 25 years of marriage. I can't believe it. Oh my gosh. So after these messages, we're going to come back with him as a guest, Sean Lacan. So stay with us. We'll be right back. You are entering the Urban Suite with Dr. Lisa Lacan. Let's talk about urban issues plaguing our community.
That's what's up, bro. That's good to hear.
Let's talk about mental health. All right, so we're back with our missing person. So who do we have? We have Zélie Unidad Flores. All right, so Miss Zélie Unidad Flores, she's been missing since, January the 12th, 2023. She's from Las Vegas, Nevada. Listen, I don't have my bell, but you folks, my urbanites that are in Las Vegas, please, definitely, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to look at her face. I need you to share this information. This story sounds awfully strange. Listen to this. She's 21 years old. She's missing from Las Vegas. She's a female. She is Black. Her complexion is medium. She's 5'6". She's 140 pounds. Her hair color is brown. Her hair length is shoulder length, and her eye color is brown. Listen to this. Her location last seen. I have to read this because this is interesting. Zélie, who was last heard from on January the 12th, when she told her mother over the phone that she was in Tijuana, Mexico, and that she was going to die, according to her mother. And then these are the circumstances surrounding her disappearance. Zale's boyfriend told Zale's mother that they went to Tijuana to look for apartments, but then Zale began acting strangely and disappeared suddenly. I don't understand this. The family has been receiving ransom messages through social media. The FBI is involved now in the case, as well as the United States Embassy in Tijuana. So this is Zale Unidad Flores. Anyone with any information, please contact the FBI in Las Vegas, the field office at 702, that's area code 702-385-1281. Or you can contact BAMFI, that's the Black and Missing Foundation Incorporated, at 877-97-BAMFI. Listen, let's bring Zale Unidad Flores home. All right, so we are back, and I have my wonderful husband, Mr. Sean Lacan. Come on out. Dun, 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 dun. Sit down. All right.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. Can you say? Yeah. Say hello to my urbanites.
Hello, urbanites.
Look. So tonight we are talking about love and marriage. And it's really interesting because normally I don't do relationships or anything. I don't consider myself an expert in relationships, only because I didn't go to school or whatever. I don't see clients dealing with relationships. However, this will be our 25th year going strong, being married. So tonight we're talking about love and marriage. Will your marriage last? Now, for me, I have to honestly say, I think a marriage really endures when you've been married for a very long time and the other, I guess, partner or spouse goes to the grave. And to me, that's what I consider you really endured. Like my aunt and my uncle, I just can't think about that.
Oh, okay.
They were married for 54, 57 years or something like that. And he passed a couple of years ago. And to me, that is a successful marriage. And I'm not talking about a toxic marriage. I'm talking about a healthy, good marriage. And that's when you really endure till the end. Because even our 25 years compared to what they went through and how many years, we're still like babies in a sense.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
So yes, so
Lisa, real quick.
Yes.
Real quick, two things. First, could y'all just talk about how you guys met and
I
how
was getting ready to say that.
But the
I
second
was
thing
getting ready
is
to
before
say
you,
that.
yeah, but before you get started, just pull your screen down a little bit. Just
Okay,
tilt your
pull
screen.
my screen down just a tad bit.
I can move up if you want to move up.
That's good. You good, Sean. You good.
All right. How's that?
Yeah, that's cool. 'Cause y'all can
All
see.
right.
Yeah,
So
that's
how
fine,
did
that's
we
great.
meet?
Well, we met through one of my best friends, Alfred Johnston. So we met in Brooklyn, 204 Flatbush Avenue, in front of our buddy Guy Anglay's apartment coming out. And Freddie went to Hampton University. And I believe we were going to the premiere of the movie Panther. It was in May of 1995. And when we were coming out, you and Freddie recognized each other. And
no, Freddie and I recognized each other, and then he invited me to the
oh, okay.
Yes.
So it was one step before the premiere.
Yeah,
right. So, but we were coming out of Guy's place at 204 Flatbush Avenue, and y'all recognized each other, and then you and I just like almost instantly connected,
right?
Even more so than Freddie. and Guy, and
That is correct.
and then we invited you to go to the Panther premiere.
That is, yep.
I think it was like a week or so later.
Mhm.
It was still in May.
Mhm.
So yeah, so that's how we met. We met through a mutual friend, a very good friend of mine, and here we are today.
Right. Oh my God, I can't believe
Actually,
it.
that would
Oh my
be
gosh.
this year would be 28 years of us
Right.
being in each other's lives.
Right.
So
I
were
can't-
y'all both in New York at that time? Like, were y'all both working in New York, or?
Yes. So I had moved from Washington, D.C. I was working at a nonprofit agency. At that time, it was called Brooklyn AIDS Task Force. So I was always in, nonprofit. And I came up here to Brooklyn, and I didn't know it really anyone. I think I knew maybe a handful of people. I think maybe 3 people, and that's it. I have no family up here. So when I saw his friend Freddie, it's so interesting because when I was on the campus of Hampton University, I would see him quite often because we shared the same building. I was a sociology major and he was a business major. So our majors shared the same building. So I would see him either walking up or down, and I'm walking in the opposite direction. And that's exactly how we ran into each other in Brooklyn. We were like walking like this, and we literally stopped at the same time, turned around and said, "You went to Hampton." And it was like, oh my gosh, yes. So then that's when he invited me, I think the following week, because he asked me, "Who are you here with?" And I said, "Well, no one. I'm just up here, maybe friends or whatever." And then that's when I met my soon to be husband, and what?
But wait a minute. So did y'all start working together first, or did you get married first before y'all started working?
No, we were friends for like 3 years.
Yeah.
We were good friends for like 3 or 4 years. He would call me all the time. He just couldn't leave me alone. No, I'm just joking. So we were seeing like he was involved. His heart was someplace else, and my heart and mine was someplace else.
Well, we were
So-
I like to say we were in transition.
Right. Mhm.
I think for us, I lived in Brooklyn at 132 Prospect Place, right across the street from the Brooklyn Tabernacle. And every time I opened up the windows, like that big cross was in my face. So I ended up rededicating my life to the Lord at that time. And and so through that spiritual journey, that's when I actually met Lisa. Through my spiritual journey, and it just happened that through the world of discovery and understanding different things about life and so on and so forth, you kind of like I kind of took a step back from just diving into relationships, and I understood the value of friendships, and Lisa wasn't nowhere at that point in her life.
Oh, absolutely. I thought he was a little odd and weird and strange. Like, I'm like, he's so, because I was very, I wouldn't say, I was kind of wild in a sense, like, like the people I hung around and the scene that I was in.
A lot of weed heads.
Yes,
But it's fun, good people, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, we all have, we both have pretty, good friends, and for some, God ordained reason, Lisa and I instantly gravitated, and literally from that point on, we really, except when we had argumentative breaks, is what I call it. We really have not ever stopped speaking with each other, and because I cooked a lot, her and my good friend Guy Anglade, they used to always hang out at my house because I always had food, and because I grew up in a household that my mother always taught me early on that it was necessary to know how to cook as a single man, and so I always cooked, and and so so it's been a great journey, and
Okay, hold up, but see, go 2 things real quick on that. Speaking of value, you mentioned value. Somebody said that was a $5 movie date. Is that true?
Well, actually, that was
Well,
free. The
well,
movie, the Panther movie was
well,
free.
The Panther movie was
But he
free.
did take me to those $2
but
movies.
back in those days, you know, I got to say this generation's missed out on a lot.
Value.
Back in those days, over on I think like in Avenue of America's area in the 50s, between like 9th and 10th, there used to be a very, very elite, some very wealthy person built this massive high-end condo structure with like these like 10 movie theaters and in the and people used to go to watch movies. This was within the days of when DVDs had came out, but people used to go. We could watch a movie for $2, you know.
Okay.
And so for I always make a joke, you know, you always went on a date, you had a $2 movie and a $3 Happy Meal. Boom, $5 date.
Okay, that's where the value came.
So,
in.
That's where that $5 date thing came up, because you know you could beat the price.
Right.
That's value. But still though. But again though, when did y'all actually start working in the same field though? Like when did y'all?
Oh,
start working
so
together?
that's interesting.
You mean for the business that we have?
Right.
Oh, so you know, it was you know, my profession in New York City. I lived in Long Island, and so when I moved to Long Island, my profession in New York City was well, it started as a default manager over at Apex Technical School, and I became an employment specialist, and then promoted to employment director. And so my career started off at Apex Technical School, then I went to Career Blazers Learning Center. So my grounding in New York City was as an employment specialist / counselor, and so we didn't have there was no BMI at that time. You know, BMI actually started. It was the name of the company is called Blessed Ministries. It actually started as a Bible study. You know, that's how Blessed Ministries started. You know, as I got more into studying the Bible, and at that time I attended the Brooklyn Tabernacle Church. You know, some great, wonderful people, great friends. You know, and we were young, and so you know myself. It was myself, Lisa, and Guy, and Sam. I believe it was a friend of ours. Her name was Monique Bob at that time. And I think her last name is Slickman, something like that. But you know, just group of good friends, just gather in my apartment for just prayer and Bible study, and that's when the name Blessed Ministries came into fruition. Monique Bob was the one that actually gave us that name, and so and it turned into eventually it's a nonprofit 501c3, but it didn't start as a business until I started to do subcontracts with other organizations to help them with their employment services. You know, so I had a full-time job, and then I started to do Blessed Ministries. Lisa didn't come into the business until about 10 years ago. I mean, pretty much it was myself and others that helped me build Blessed Ministries. And then Lisa came in 10 years ago after she rounded out her career, got her master's and so on and so forth, and, you know, rounded out her career. But, God had always showed me that, and I always used to tell Lisa this, you know, that the business wouldn't go to that next level until she became a part of the business, and so getting back to, the whole love and marriage thing, one thing that I clearly understood in regards to, the purpose that, I was being called to do, which is to obviously, I'm an entrepreneur, I come from the roots of an entrepreneurial type of family. And so, it's very important that, we have, for me at least, that I was to marry an individual that complemented my the purpose that God has for my life, and so there's, so even though I'm I'm an entrepreneur, I even eat and breathe entrepreneurship, and so I'm always creating things, ideas, so on and so forth. And my bosses and my mentors, all of them molded me and grew me, to be a leader and to also be a creative thinker, but also to know how to. They taught me how to structure and to implement systems and design systems and create things and but you need someone in your life to help you manage all that, and so you need someone also that can take your creativity and put it on paper. Lisa writes a lot of the grants, the proposals that we write, and by trade, her mother is an excellent writer, and she's an excellent writer. Lisa was a publicist for many years, and editor for many years. I think at that time she was the editor of New Word magazine. That was with Garrett. So it's very important, that when you're embarking on the journey of marriage, marriage is different than just dating. You know what I mean? And so, it's one of those things that, like I said, I take a lot of my principles from the Bible. But before even the Bible, you understand something. I'm an interesting individual because I always tell people I was born in Guyana, South America, raised in London, England, and migrated to America, right? So my grandmother and my grandfather raised me for a good portion of my early life, and I saw the value of traditional marriage, that death to do your part, type of relationship. I mean, my grandmother and grandfather were married to the day that that my grandfather passed first.
See, that's
but
what I'm saying.
so I grew up understanding the importance of having a good wife and a good woman. There's a difference between having a woman and having a man. A lot of people end up having a woman and having a man, but you want to have a good man and you want to have a good woman. There's a very big difference.
Right. Now hold up. See now, because it sounds like the business is very important though. I want to get back onto that, but it seems like you guys connected first, maybe through spirituality, like maybe through having connections through the same beliefs and stuff. How important you think that was?
Not really, not spiritually, but we did connect on an artistry level because Sean used to produce music when I first met him. And I was interested. I was working, like I said, for New Word, and I was interviewing different celebrities, musicians and things, So I think it gravitated toward, I think we gravitated because of that interest. You were doing music. And I just like that whole entertainment world because he and his friends were in that world. That's how we got to see the Panther, the premiere, because someone had tickets, because they were doing managing and doing whatever. So everything was just kind of new to me. And he just really felt like, remember, I'm up here by myself, no family or anything. So he just really felt safe. I felt like I could trust him. So we did talk all the time. And I think one of the good things that is key to any healthy relationship, especially marriage, is to really start off as friends and not so much in the lust zone, because I don't think he was lusting after me. I wasn't lusting after him. We just had, it was just very, very innocent, right? When you say?
I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, but going back to what Curtis was saying, I mean, the truth is when you cut away at all of the surface things, yeah, we did connect on a spiritual level. Sometimes you connect on the spiritual level, Curtis, and people don't know how God is navigating things. You know what I mean? And so, and so sometimes you have to not look at how it happened, but yeah, you got to look at it at why it happened. See, and a lot of times people spend too much time looking at how things happen, but not why, right? The how is what you see, but the why is what you really cannot see. Okay. And so, and so it all comes down to, that purpose, that vision, because I'm a firm believer. I'm not ashamed and apologetic of my beliefs. I believe that there is a God. I believe that he knows the end before the beginning, because the scriptures tell me that, but I believe that wholeheartedly. Okay. So you have to understand, if people, I'm turning 55 and my wife is going to turn 53 this year. Okay. So at a
54.
54 this year. I'm sorry.
Oh my
Well,
God.
you're 53.
Right.
But you look like you're 25. Lord. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. Listen, I'm not apologetic that I'm blessed to have a beautiful wife. Okay. I mean, my wife looks good with or without makeup. Okay. So, so when the Bible teaches me that, your wife is supposed to be the apple of your eye, she is, and it has nothing to do ultimately with, okay, wow, she exercises and she keeps herself fit and beautiful for her husband. It's just, every woman, in my perspective, has a great beauty. Okay. And you can't, and as a man, I cannot and will never live in a fantasy world to think that when you're in your 50s, I have to that my wife is going to present herself as if she's 20 again. Okay?
Yeah, no,
and vice versa. I mean, there's a great song written by Music Soul Child, that talks about, the progression of life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, grow old together. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
growing old together.
And to me, there's a beauty in growing old together.
Absolutely.
There's a beauty in and yeah, I'm a firm believer, me personally, that there is a man, a good man, and there is a good woman that are meant to be together. Okay. And I think a lot of times people, because of distractions, and one day we got to talk about distractions. Distractions to me is really what hinders people from finding that good man or good woman. Okay. And the distraction doesn't start externally. The distraction is internal. Okay. Because everything starts within your mind and your thought process, So if your mind and your thought process develops and say, you know what, I want to have this, I want to have that, I want to have that, or I want to feel this particular way or that particular way, that becomes a distraction. Because lo and behold, your good man, a good woman could be sitting right in front of you. Just like I said, tell people, Jesus could come to you right now and look you straight in the face, but because of your distraction, you wouldn't even recognize him. And there's many people that, because of distractions, it could be work, it could be children, it could be a million things that are external. They really sometimes miss, identifying with that good man or good woman. Now, you can have a man or you can have a woman, because
they're not good.
There's no shortage of that. Okay.
Right.
But there is a shortage of good men and a shortage of good women.
Right. So that's why, see, y'all have a unique situation there too. And we want to get to that. But because of, I feel like the way y'all are able to work together. Most couples, how many couples do y'all know that actually work together in the same field and then work in the same business? You say it's one thing to even work in the same.
Well, from an African American perspective, I don't know any. Okay.
Okay, so you know what I mean. That's very unique.
I have met, I think, 2 or 3 in my career that that are able to that have businesses together. But it's beyond the business. Okay, and let me tell you why it's beyond the business. Your as a married couple, your first business is your marriage. Okay.
Right.
And so, if you have a healthy, great marriage, whereas you respect each other, You give each other their space. You're able to identify your weaknesses, admit your weaknesses also. You could identify your strength within your marriage, because one thing about marriage is a business. Let's call it what it is. It is a business, okay?
That's right.
And from the day one, you sign a legal contract,
right?
Okay? And in that legal contract, I could break it down and tell you what's in that legal contract and how it identifies with a contract that you sign in business, okay?
But do you think most people think about it like that?
No, and that's the problem. I think.
Okay, so I mean, now, but real quick, Lisa, though, you know, Sean was saying how he grew up with certain traditional values, and I believe that was probably from having older people raise him too. Now, but how did you identify with those traditional values? Did that seem? How did that apply to you? Like you grew up down south, so you grew up down
pretty
south.
much the same. But for me personally, I was raised by a single mom, like a single parent. However, I had a lot of aunts and uncles that were married. My grandmother, grandfather were married until, you know, one of them died. And, you know, so I had that in my view and in my perspective. So that's what I gravitated towards. But, you know, it was so interesting because you just said something about a lot of people don't see marriage as a business. And I think a lot of people, the reason why a lot of people may not be successful in marriage is because they may not love or be in love with the institution of marriage. Because the institution of marriage, when you think about it, it's God ordained and it does not change. So like Sean and I, we met 20 something years ago. I'm going to change. Sean is going to change. Oftentimes people don't know how to deal with that change. And if they don't know how to deal with that change, and if they don't really respect the institution of marriage, they're like, I'm out because I can't deal with that change. Rather than, in a sense, coming together, compromising certain things. I know Sean is not the same person that I met when I initially met him, and he knows that I'm not the same person that he met. But the one thing that is constant is marriage, the institution of marriage, certain principles. Don't go to bed when you're angry. Like that's a principle. That's a biblical principle that to me is just, it just works. But if you don't respect that, it's not going to work.
You know, for me, you know, like I said, I have an entrepreneurial mind. You know, I love being around other entrepreneurs. Okay. You know, I see one of my good friends on here, Carl Joseph. I love talking to Carl. You know,
what's happening, Carl?
I see another one of my friends on here, Leslie.
Leslie, what's up, Leslie?
We're all, you know, I love being around creative thinkers. You know, and so getting back to, you know, a business, people shy away from that concept. Okay, but if you really understand it, who God is. The world and humanity is his business, okay? And so he invests in us. And so, you know, for me, it's important that I, as a man, as a husband, I'm not even say a man. I believe that I'm a good man, okay? And as a husband and as a father, it is my responsibility to invest in my wife, okay? I have to make sure that I am unhindered and I am not distracted, to understand that it is my goal as a man, as a good man, to invest in the joyful life of my wife. I'm not going to say happiness, because the reason why I don't like the term happiness, because happiness is relative to what is going on actively in your life, okay? And so when those things that give you that happy emotion are no longer there, the opposite of that is you're going to be sad, okay? All right? But in the world of joyfulness, there is going to be sad times, okay? And when there's sad times, that's moments to elevate your perspective in life, to, you know, say, well, let me comfort you. And comfortness, to be comforted, is a good thing, okay? But sometimes women are left to be sad alone, and that's not a good thing. Okay. And sometimes children are left to be sad alone, and that's not a good thing. Okay. It's just so so I tell people my my wife is a boss. My children are our employees. Okay. My dog and my cat, they're my helpers. Okay. and it is my job as a man to make sure that I maintain that household. It's like one time my son, my younger son, because some of his friends were divorced and parents were divorced, and he said to us, he said, "Dad, I don't know what I would do if you and mom would get divorced." You know what I mean? And that's a hard, that emotionally touched me. You know what I mean? That my son, because of his environment that's around him, not his immediate environment, had to think about that. Because one thing that we do all the time, our kids in our household, the word "I love you" is a constant word in this house. Okay.
Every day.
Unfortunately, I didn't grow up in a house like that. I didn't grow up in a house where you would hear an adult say, "I love you" on a regular basis.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think, and it's so funny because when I go around talking to other men, I actually, ask them, how many times do you say "I love you" in your household? I mean, and you will see the expression on a lot of men's faces. They kind of don't identify with it as a part of who they are. They identify it through sex and through their own personal
Possessions,
needs
maybe.
and possession, but they don't identify through the realm of giving. And that word, to be able to not just say "I love you," but to mean it and embrace it. Sometimes men could feel that might be outside of their so-called manly character, but children and women and even men, we all need to feel love, because feeling love is a sense of belonging, and we all need to belong.
All right. Well, you know what? But you're talking about men and stuff, and there's a lot of stuff going on right now with people giving advice to men and stuff like that. But one thing that seems important is that, career-wise, again, and I'm gonna key in on something somebody just said. You guys have been able to work together, and it's kind of rare to me to see that a woman support a man's career. Like, like that's where it gets into a lot of problems sometimes, where like it seems like a man might put his career first or whatever, and the spouse or the significant other, their girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, doesn't support that career fully and feels intimidated by it or jealous of it, or so like that the career gets in the way. Like two different careers that people have, that's just like it gets in the way. I don't like you working so much. You work too many long hours, and then you don't pay enough attention to me. Like that's a big part of relationships where people, can't get along. And the unique thing I think about you guys' situation is that you have been able to work together for so many years. And I kind of consider you the Jay-Z and Beyonce of workforce development. And somebody else I think out there agrees with me because they said this.
Oh, one of my favorite power couples, Reverend Shelley.
That's what you just identified there is a good conversation to have. I read a study, I think it was put up by Morgan Stanley, and one by I think it's called Pew, one of these survey things. They said by the year 20, the Pew report. They said by the year 2030, 57% of women in the U.S. will be single. 57%.
Wow.
Okay, that's a lot. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think that society, culture, a whole. I think we have gotten away from healthy relationships, healthy friendships. I think it stems from things from the music of today, churches are just like, I mean, a lot of churches are just terrible. I'm gonna be honest with you. You know what I mean? They're just teaching really bad stuff, and not only that, there churches a lot today where a lot of people go and to hopefully find God. You just find a lot of everything that is sinful is going on in the church. You know what I mean? It's really appalling to me a lot of times. You know what I mean? And so, used to you would want to go to church and hopefully find a nice, good woman. But these days, you don't know what you're going to get these days. You know what I mean? And so I think we've gotten away from really teaching people. I remember back in the days when we used to go to Brooklyn Tabernacle, there was a singles ministry, right? I'll give you a funny story. Singles ministry, right? And so, and it was about 30 of us or so, right? We were all going to the
Poconos.
Poconos
Right.
for a singles trip.
Yes. So we were engaged.
And Lisa and I were engaged. And so we were appointed to be, I guess, the head chaperones of this trip, right? And oh my gosh, one good brother, very nice looking, nice, tall, white teeth, dark looking.
He was a police officer. Had a decent job.
Single at that time. And lo and behold, we got stuck in the parking lot at McDonald's, the old McDonald's on Artillery Avenue in downtown Brooklyn. And everyone is arguing with me because they wanted to ride in his car. Okay. And I have put a rule that the men will ride with women and men will ride with men and women will ride with women. Okay. So that we can uphold the integrity of our Christian faith. Okay. And also the rules of the church. Lo and behold, I became public enemy number, God knows what. You know what I mean? Because the lust and the salivation, it was like, oh my God, anybody they just
but do you think that people are getting taught not to have that like kind of value for their spouse's other life objectives and stuff like that? Like, why do you think people don't have respect for?
I don't think they see a lot of role models, positive role models, whether it's in their household, whether it's on TV or whatever. But I think if you don't see it, you won't know how to navigate in it, and it was interesting. I was talking to my barber today, and he's been married 23 years, and he said something very interesting. He said he believes children need to see parents have healthy arguments, because if they don't see us having a healthy argument, how would they know how to navigate those waters when they're in a relationship? And I think oftentimes what happens is because we don't have those role models, and then we have so much in our ear with don't get married, because that's the thing now. Don't get married, stay single, have 10,000 cats, have 10,000 dogs. Well, I don't want that. I just know. But I hear a lot of women are on that mantra of stay single, stay single, stay single. Maybe they've been hurt. Maybe they've never seen, a healthy relationship. I don't know. Different strokes for different folks. But I think what is happening, especially in the Black community, you have a lot of the fathers who are not technically in the house. Now, some fathers may say, well, I'm very active or whatever, but this is my litmus test. I remember when there was a storm and our daughter, she was afraid of the thunder. So what did she do? She ran into the comfort of her dad at 12 o'clock in the morning. A lot of parents can't say that. Yes, the father is active, maybe once a week, twice a week over the weekend, but it's totally different than having those two parents in the home.
But also I think it's important, Curtis, that children see their mother and father in love.
Right, having
and
fun
showing
and
affection,
right,
and having fun, showing them that marriage is not boring.
Right, exactly.
I mean, the marriage is exciting. they should see their mother and father kissing. They should see their mother and father, spanking each other on a butt. You know what I mean? Doing crazy little freaky thing. You know what I mean? Running around the house, naked.
No, the kids don't need
so that they
that.
instill love. You see, I can see that. They can see that y'all still in love.
They should see each other. When we talk about role models and mentorship, I mean, there's a need, unfortunately, because we just have so many single households, so many divorces that are taking place. And we have to stop accepting divorce. We have to stop accepting, that this is just the way of escape and a way out. I mean, yeah, it is something that is occurring, but just because something occurs doesn't mean that you have to accept it. When my wife and I got married, I made a commitment to my wife, and I clearly said to her, that one thing that I will always do, even through the rough times and the bad times, because every married couple gets to a point, of some major issues in their life, which you can start thinking about the word divorce. Okay, and we're not an exception to that. Okay, and so, but we were able to strip away, all of the distractions. And this is what I'm talking. It's a distraction. We were able to strip away all of the distractions and to say, you know what, we need to come back to the basic foundation of who we are and where we started from. Okay. So when we were going through our times and our issues and so on and so forth, because you got to understand something, when you are a good man and you are a good woman, you will find a solution. Okay. If you're just a man and you're just a woman, then guess what? You don't need to find a solution. You're going to just say, you know what, she makes me feel better. He makes me feel better. You know what I mean?
And then you part
I'm
ways.
just going to part ways and we're going to figure this out. That's the thing. So got divorced. It worked out well for them. So got divorced. It worked out. You know what? And I'm not disputing that might be the dynamics in those individuals' life. But one thing that I always tell you this, what I've discovered when I talk to the children and I ask the children about how the divorce affected them, I get a different story. Okay. And so people have to understand something. You know what? Yeah, as adults, you're gonna figure things out. You're going to, but what about the children? And that's my concern. My concern is that are my bad actions, are my bad decisions, how is it impacting the life of the next generation?
Right.
I'm always concerned by that. I want to have a generation, the Lacan family. I want my children to believe in marriage, believe in love, even though they may make a decision not to get married. Okay. But I want them to at least believe in it. Why? Because I want them to be able to say, my mother and father, okay, were married till the day that they departed each other's lives, and they were in love, and they honored their vows, through death do us part. When we made those vows, that is a legal contract, and divorce is not an option, Right. And so, yeah, so when that distraction, when that nice looking girl or woman comes around, be like, that's a distraction. But you know what? The truth for the matter is, it takes time for men to mature to that level. And sometimes it takes women time to mature to that level, okay? Because there are things, your greatest enemy is yourself, okay? And there are things that, my father, who I knew for a short time, okay, and other men that were in my life have negatively deposited into my life, okay? And that's what I tell people. Your decision and your actions can impact your way of thinking, your belief system. If you grew up in a household where you had a man that cheated all the time on your mother, then guess what? That's going to leave a negative impact, okay? And you're going to end up having to fight against those impulses and those feelings, okay, for a long period of time until you can mature to the level of understanding, until you can overcome that spirit. overcome that mindset. Now, that doesn't mean that you're out there going to a club or going to a bar and picking up this women and doing what that person did, but you're still going to wrestle with that possibility, with that thing that was deposited into you based upon your environment that you grew up in. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so a lot of men, unfortunately, even though you're an adult, you still think like a child. Okay.
All right.
And,
You know what? Because actually, we're about to come down towards the end of this, but let's talk about a couple of firsts that y'all have had. Like, y'all have had 4 kids together, and not just that, but y'all have traveled and you've done so many things.
We had 5 and we lost 1. We had 5 kids and we lost 1.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll talk about some of the firsts that y'all have had over the course of y'all 25 years. Before we go.
I'm sorry, what is it?
The first.
The first what?
I don't know. Just any first?
Yeah, like some of the things that y'all have been able to do together that you've been able to experience for the first time, and maybe y'all did that together. Like y'all had kids. Let's put it like that. Y'all both. Let's start there. Y'all both had y'all only kids are with each other, right?
God, we had children. You're crazy. I mean, listen, my wife and I, with the help of a lot of great people, we were very, very fortunate. And we want to thank all the people that God has sent into our life to bring us to the place. But we have a wonderful staff at our company. We have met wonderful friends. We have met wonderful people. And so we're very grateful. And this is where I get so there's always a first that happens in our life, and we're always looking for the first. We're always looking for the next first. You know what I mean? And that's a beautiful thing. For me, the journey of looking for the next first. Like I take it back. If you want to take it back, when my wife and I first started having children, one thing that gets very we always encourage married couples to do. Don't wait long, but start dating as soon as possible.
Get a babysitter.
Go
out once.
You have to do that. You know what? Because we realized a long time ago that the responsibilities of life, children, a mortgage, all of the external things that I talked about was starting to distract us from us. Okay. And when that begins to happen, is you start to your imagination, your thought process start to stray from us, and you stop recognizing that there is a us. And that us used to have great times. That us used to have fun. That us used to laugh and we used to dance and the us, And as soon as you start forgetting about the us, you're in trouble. Okay, it's just like I like reading things in that has threes. Okay, for instance, and this might help somebody here tonight. Okay. One thing that you're always going to be challenged with, and this is where I said the battle within yourself, okay? Because when you forget about the us, it's really not the external things that are causing you to forget about the us. It's ultimately when what's on the inside of you begins to say, I don't care about the us, okay? You know what I mean?
You're distracted.
Because you're distracted and you have now reconstructed your thought process to say, you know what, I have accepted that there is no longer a us. But one thing that I've learned over time is that, and I take it from the Bible, there's 3 words that always stays with me. Thou shalt not. You shall not. Okay. So what is that distraction? That distraction is a form of temptation. And people always want to blame it on the devil. The devil ain't got nothing to do with it. Okay.
It's your mind. Oftentimes.
I ask people every time they say the devil made me do it. I be like, well, show me where the devil at. He ain't nowhere to be found. Okay. He ain't nowhere around. Okay. And I always tell people that Lucifer gets a bad rap. Okay, it's not the devil that made you do it. You did it. Okay.
So can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So say for instance, when people first meet someone,
Mm-hmm.
so how is it, what should people look for when they're looking for that spouse? Not a boyfriend, not a girlfriend, but a spouse. Like from a male perspective, what do you think men generally look for in choosing a woman to be his wife?
Well, I mean, every man is different. That's number one. Okay. And I'm gonna put a good man in front of that. Okay. I mean, good
right.
man, okay. Now, for instance, every good man is going to have, hopefully, morals and values. Very important. Okay. And that's exceptionally important. What are your morals? What are your values? Okay. And sometimes you got to be real careful with the men that use all words that you got to look up in the encyclopedia. Okay. Okay. So when they start pulling out 30 scriptures, so when they start sounding all eloquent, when you got to look out for them signals and the warning signs. It's time to run. Okay. Okay. No, but every good man's gonna have a set of values. Okay. As harsh as this might sound to some of the people listen, then one of my values was I would not have married a woman that already had children. That's just Sean LeCon. Okay, not saying that there's not good women that have children. Okay, but Sean LeCon, my grandmother, who was very instrumental in my life at 14 years old, she prophesied to me. Okay. When I was 14, and she literally told me everything that would occur in my life, from the good to the bad side of things. Okay. And I literally, I have a picture of my grandmother I look at my grandmother's picture every single day. My wife will tell you, every single day I look at my grandmother's picture. Okay. And I literally talk to my grandmother like every day. Okay. And she was very, very, instrumental for me, and so when it comes down to my values, my grandmother instilled my values, and she told me very clearly that one day I will have my own family and my own wife. And she said that one day you will have to leave this house that you're living in. That's what she told me. Okay. She told me that clear as day. Okay. And so I always knew that based upon what my grandmother told me, that was the starting point of my journey. Okay. And it was going to be a tough road, she said. It was going to be a tough road. And it was a tough road. Okay. But through God's grace, I made it through because her audible voice always stuck with me, and it caused me to remember, And so that doesn't mean that I knew the answers, but I could give you one thing. What was that value? My own family. So one day, a young lady that when I was younger, I used to date, we met up many, many years later. Okay. And I remember speaking to her on the phone and just having a nice, friendly conversation. And she said, Sean, would you ever marry anybody with children? And I'm sorry, I immediately said, hell no. And it wasn't that I was trying to insult her or anything like that. It was just an immediate reaction because what was instilled in me from my grandmother was I would have my own family. So immediately I responded, and I'm sorry that, I never got a chance to maybe explain to her the reasoning behind my immediate response, but it was just that was one of my values. Okay. And not that she was not a nice person and so on and so forth, but she had, I think at that time, 4 or 5 kids. And that just was not going to be in the cards for Sean LeCon. Okay. Not that, I know a lot of beautiful women that have children and so on and so forth, but you have to know who you are as a good man, Now there is a good man that may want to be with her, okay? But that was not in the journey on the values that was instilled in me by my grandmother, okay? And so I think that you have to begin to, through the discovery phase. And what is that discovery phase? The discovery phase is you got to get to know somebody as a person first, okay? If you're, in my opinion, if you're going to just get to know somebody through the realm of lust, sex, and all that, I don't understand. I don't even think that you can really get to know that person because now your emotions are so intertwined, and if the sex is good, you're like, okay, well, that's all I care about.
And then you end up in a toxic relationship with somebody, because
That's right.
Well, there's a million things that you're gonna end up in. You know what I mean? You can end up getting pregnant. There's a million things, okay, that could end up happening. And why? Because the relationship, the foundation of the relationship was based upon something that does not last. Lust will never last. I don't care what
so true.
it is. It will never last.
Say that again.
Lust will never last.
Never last.
It will never. Now, don't get me wrong. It feels good temporarily while you're in it. But at the end of the day, you got to always remember one thing. If you were able at that time to see how it would have ended, would you have done it? The answer is going to be no. Okay. If you would have and this is the beautiful thing about God, about having faith and trusting, you know what I mean? And getting understanding and clarity. This is the wonderful thing about it, and don't get me wrong. Some people, it takes longer for them to find these answers. Okay. And that's the beautiful thing in the journey of life. Everybody has to find their road and path. So it's not a bad thing that you started out this way. It's not about a lot of times how you start out in life. It's about how you end up. Okay. So that's why sometimes it takes people going through multiple relationships to end up finding a good man. And that does happen. That's a part of the dynamics of life. Okay. Now, is it ideal? No, it's not ideal, because now you still got all of those things that are going to
spirits and bodies.
all of those attachments that is going to stay with you for the rest of your life. Okay.
Yeah.
And some of those attachments can be living hell. Okay. And so, you may have a beautiful, fruitful relationship that you have discovered later on in life, but man, it's hard to navigate having a good life and a bad life at the same time. So the ideal situation is, wow, I would have loved to have found a good woman. I have a good woman. Okay. And sometimes I tell my wife, you better watch that dude. He got that googly eyes for you. Okay? I see that dude's googly eyes. I was in the cut watching. I was watching. You got it on TV. You gotta watch. A lot of times, but you gotta also understand. I tell women, you gotta learn to protect the integrity of your marriage. Okay. And you got to understand, never use the word yes lightly. Okay. As soon as you start using that word yes, you understand something. All the words that we speak are spiritual. It activates an unseen realm. So as soon as you start to say yes with your mouth, yes with your body, okay, you're going to start attracting a whole lot of unwanted spirits
and distractions.
Okay. And distraction in your life. Okay. And they're going to look at, and don't fault the man for presenting. You said yes. You said it in this way, that way, this way, the other. In your mind, you could be thinking, well, I just said yes. But how did you say yes? How did your body language say yes? Men are good readers. They're not good readers of books, but they're good, they're good readers of body language. Okay. They're good readers of lust. Okay, men are good readers.
They're hunters.
Because there you go. Because men are hunters. Okay, so you better be careful as a woman, as a lady, how you say yes. Okay, who you say yes to, because somebody is always watching. Okay, a hunter is always on the look for prey. Okay? I remember growing up, and a man told me, clear as day, one of the best places to go and have sex with women, he said, go to church.
Yeah.
Okay? Go to church. Okay. He said church women are the easiest women to have sex with.
Lord.
Okay? That's what he told me.
Let's not defame the church no more. You done talked down the church too much tonight.
You say you want to get laid, go to church.
But we got some preachers out in the audience today. Like, I think we got a couple of preachers out there watching the show now.
I'm just telling you, listen, this is what happened, because guess what? We have strayed away so far away from holiness in church.
Yeah.
Okay. And so back in the day, growing up, when I used to go to church with my grandmother, okay, you went to church with the fear of the Lord before you got in church.
Right. That's
Okay.
true.
I mean, you got up in the morning and grandma is talking to God. Who you talking to, grandma? Aren't you cooking? I'm talking to the Lord, so let me have my moment. Why? Because she was getting prepped in her spirit to get rid of all of that stuff, because she had a fear of God. You know what I mean? And so when you walked into the church, you walked in there already reverencing God. You didn't wait till you got in church to reverence the Lord. You walked in there with the spirit of fear and reverence to God, versus now you got to start hearing all this stuff to get yourself worked out. No, if you really want to take it back to holiness, okay, which I pray that hopefully the church gets to at some point in time, okay, you're not supposed to allow a whole bunch of devils up in the church, walking in there with the spirit of praying.
And not this
P-R-E-Y,
right? Not
okay?
this praying.
Yeah. That's what's up. That horse done left the barn, I think, already. They already out there doing that.
So we've strayed away from that. I mean, when you start seeing men wearing lipstick, okay, or lip gloss, okay. I mean,
what about the preacher that got with the jewels and everything, and it was inside job?
That's all the spirit of life. All the spirit of, that's the lust of the eye, lust of the flesh, and pride. Like, I mean, I could go on all day about that stuff. So we've strayed away, and guess what? We're not perfect people. But what I'm talking about is that I have a 45-minute to an hour rule. My wife will tell you, I don't like going to most places and staying longer than 45 minutes to an hour. Okay,
I'm the opposite.
My wife is the opposite. My good friend, he shut down. He shut down the party, and I always want to make sure I drive my own vehicle, because I know Sean LaCon, and Sean LaCon says, okay, that guess what? The longer I stay in this unclean environment, okay, all right, I may go back in my mind to my old thoughts, because I love talking to people.
See, I don't.
I love talking to people.
See, yeah, that's that.
I love getting to know people. What do
don't.
you do? That's where I make a lot of connections. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm always, talking to, no matter where I could go to any country, okay? And my wife will tell you, everybody, I hate going to, when we travel, we go away and everybody on vacation and we in the same boat and nobody talk to each other. So guess what? I'm gonna get everybody to talk to each other. In 10 minutes, everybody gonna know each other's name. Because guess what? Here's my philosophy. If this boat was to start sinking right now, I don't wanna have to wonder if you're gonna drown me first. You know what I'm saying? At least if you're gonna drown me, I wouldn't know your name.
Where's your favorite place y'all been to? Where's your favorite place y'all been to?
I think St. Martin.
St. Martin so far is our favorite place to travel to. And the reason why we like St. Martin's because the whole island is a resort. I love to explore. My wife sometimes a lot of time when we go away and it's not like a St. Martin, she just stays on the resort, stay by the pool, read a book. So I'm scuba diving by myself.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh my
I'm
God.
swinging off of a tree by myself. I'm on the conga line. You know what I mean? I'm bringing.
He is. I'm like, oh my God.
I'm bringing. I'm like bringing out the Brooklyn beat. I'm skipping the line to get the food. And I'm dragging like all the friends that I just met. Hey, come on, we gonna skip this line. And there's about 100 people in front of us. By the time we get over there, all the mangoes gonna be gone.
But I mean, but y'all travel a lot of different places though, right? But y'all like the islands. Y'all like the islands the most.
I mean, listen, we like the islands. You know what I mean? We like Jamaica. But St. Martin so
I've
far.
been to Hawaii and stuff.
I mean, listen, I love Europe. I love London, obviously, because I was raised there. I love London a lot. Miss London. But but at the end of the day, you have to understand that in order to enjoy a lot of these things in life, okay, you have to have the financial means. Because we don't travel and go in debt, okay?
Right.
You know what I mean? Thank goodness. You know what I mean? And so, and unfortunately, I don't recommend anyone traveling to go in debt. Don't allow yourself to, your enjoyment to cause you to go in debt. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's a lot of things that you can enjoy in life that's right here in America. Okay. I'll tell you honest truth. I have my wife traveled, she went cross country, you know what I mean? Her and her best friend. I have never done that, you know what I mean? And I believe that there's a beautiful a lot of great things here.
This
that
country is
that you can enjoy
beautiful.
without going in debt, and you can have historical moments. Okay. And and that's why a lot of times, when I do meet married couples, I always want to ask them, what's your marriage historical moment with your spouse? Okay. And my wife and I, we've been fortunate enough to have a lot of great marriage historical
we have a lot
moments.
of fun. And that's the key. I think we have a lot of fun.
I mean, we do a lot of great things.
He makes me laugh a lot. Like, oh my gosh. He really does.
You know what, Lisa? Before we wrap up, let's do one more thing that we've neglected to do tonight, which is very important, and that's to give a shout out to our sponsor.
Yes.
Right, so let's give a shout out to the sponsor, and then when we come back, you can wrap us up. Okay.
All right. Urban Tools for Change Network is sponsored by Bless Ministries Incorporated, BMI, the premier workforce development agency in the state of New Jersey. We are here to serve you. If you have a history of being on parole, if you are on probation, if you are an adult with a disability, if you are a youth with a disability and you're looking for employment, come check us out at 973-733-WORK. So again, BMI sponsors Urban Tools for Change Network. Yes.
It's so funny. I had to ask my wife who our sponsor was. I forgot it's Blessed Ministries. Us.
Oh my! Did you want to look through any of those before you wrap it up?
What you say?
I said you had a lot of comments tonight. You want to look through any of those before we?
Oh, sure.
Let's see.
Wrap it up.
This is. Oh, that's David. You have not gone with me. Oh, traveling. Oh, God.
We go there, David. We
going there one day. One day.
That's my dude right there.
Let's see. And Jabril, what's that? He's laughing. I can't see.
Crying, laughing. He's crying.
Okay. And Jenny Jamaica, careful of nonverbals. Absolutely. Eyes, like you were saying, the googly eyes when you were saying about the yes, that your body says yes. Let's see who else.
So you definitely can't build a relationship on lust.
Right. Let's see. No, you can't. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, one of the things that is important to realize that, some people are meant just to be single. Some people want to be married, are meant to be married. And I think one of the most important things is, if you are a person and you don't want to compromise in small areas of your life, don't get married, because marriage is really about growing together. And that growing, sometimes it can hurt, because think about it. When you're married, that's the person that should definitely see your authentic self, not the mask that you wear to the world, not the mask that you put on Instagram or Facebook or, TikTok, but your authentic self. If you don't want that, don't get married. Definitely. It is it's a lot of work in a sense, but it's fun. Like, you can make it fun, especially if you are in love with the person, you like the person, and you're compatible with the person. And I think for the most part, that's what, needs to happen. And Sean, how did you, before we wrap up, how did you know I was to be your wife?
Here's a true story I'm going to share. Okay. And, like I said, I gotta share because, and this doesn't happen. This happened to Sean LeCon and Lisa LeCon. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So Lisa and I, we used to study the Bible together, and we used to pray almost pretty much every day,
every morning
evening,
or evening before bed or something.
We used to pray, and this was when we were friends. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
now don't get me wrong, Lisa was dating somebody else, and I was seeing someone else. Okay, but we, that's why I tell people, don't look at yourself. Don't look at yourself in what's going on immediately.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you have to realize that if you really trust God and God is in control, trust Him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, Lisa, even though she used the term she was wild, or free spirited is what I like to call, she did have a praying grandmother.
Absolutely.
Okay? She had a praying grandmother, and she did
God.
come from a family that had a strong foundation in the Lord. Okay, so just because you may be that rebellious child, okay, that doesn't mean God's finished with you yet.
Amen.
Okay, and a lot of times He haven't even gotten started. Okay, and so
that's
Sean
her
preaching tonight.
to my life was the starting journey of who God wanted her to be and become. Okay. And she could have went in many different directions. Same with myself. Okay. And so prayer is very unique to relationships because the standard relationship that happens in what we call the world system comes together based upon lust. I'm attracted to you. You make me feel good. You make me laugh. You make me Twitter. All that stuff is emotional. Okay. Prayer is unique to a relationship. Okay. And when you come together in the realm of prayer, okay, it's like a spirit comes over you and begins to align things properly in your life, and one day, during prayer, I heard an audible voice say to me, "Do you know that Lisa is your wife?" Okay, clear as day. Okay, let me give you the backstory before that. I used to minister the word of God to Lisa. She's always hang up the phone. She didn't want to hear nothing about God. Okay, So, and so, but I never gave up on her. Okay. So for a period of time, we were not talking. And she was in a relationship with someone else. Okay. Who was nothing but the devil from hell. Okay. Because he met her. He met him on the day that she finally came to church with me.
Yep, that's so
So
true.
walking out of the church,
I'm like
lo
Little
and
Red Riding Hood.
behold, Satan,
Look, I'm like Little Red Riding Hood.
old pitchforky. And guess what? What was Lisa's common denominator at that time? She loved weed. I love my weed. Lisa loved her weed. Boy, she loved her weed. She would go to work high. You know what I'm saying? Lisa would, I love that weed.
And he was helping her though, so that was off the path.
And this dude was a weed dealer.
Yeah, so he was off the path.
So here it comes. Lo and behold, the day she comes to church, coming out the church, she meet this fake Rastafari. but that's a fake accent. You're from America.
Leave it alone. He was trying.
So anyway, I think he ended up walking her home, you know, so forth. And then obviously they got into a relationship, you know. And but God started to work on her.
Sure did.
And here's the irony. He actually, because he saw that she was getting serious about God, introduced her to a Baptist church that I guess he must have grew up in.
Right,
Okay.
he did.
And I remember that pastor was iffy. I'm gonna call her iffy.
Just say it. Go ahead and say what you want to say.
She was iffy. You know, she was one of those pastors like, well, if you love each other, y'all can have sex.
Right. Like basically, she was endorsing fornication.
She
like
was
sex
endorsing
before.
all types of sin, fornication, whatever. Weed, smoking.
No, she was one of the New Age pastors or something.
Because you know, unfortunately, that's the culture of a lot of black churches today. If you love each other, you can do whatever you want to do as long as you love each other. That's a lie from the pit of hell. Okay, any church or pastor that says that, you need to run. Okay? That is not nowhere in the Bible. Okay, and it's definitely not the Spirit of God. But bottom line is, so make a long story short, so I would, you know, call her, you know, to see how then I would still minister the Word of God, but he had a lot of influence over her, and he was, in my opinion, manipulating her thought process and her emotions. Okay. And so she didn't want to hear anything about, you know, truth about the Word of God, but she was still open, you know, because we did have a friendship. Okay. But at one time we had I think a fallout. I don't remember what it was over, but and she wasn't speaking to me for a minute. Okay. And I kid you not, I was in my recording studio, and this was Labor Day. Okay. And the Lord spoke to me and said, I need you to call Lisa. I said, I'm not calling Lisa. She's not talking to me. She didn't answer my call. He said, no, I need you to call her. Call her at work. I was like, well, Lord, today is Labor Day. Okay. Nobody goes to work on Labor Day.
Me.
He said, no, call her at work. And she's going to answer the phone. And tell her this. And I will tell you this word for word. I'm not going to say his name, but so-and-so, the name of her boyfriend, he told me the name of her boyfriend, so-and-so, is going to ask her to marry him. She's going to say yes, and she's going to have a terrible life if she accepts and marries him. That's what God told me, word for word.
Wow.
So anyway,
And Garrett was there too.
and Garrett was there, and maybe he's
the
listening.
publisher of
the
Newark.
publisher of the. Okay.
Newark.
So I called her, and lo and behold, she answered the phone. Okay, and you know it was awkward because we haven't spoken in a minute. And I said, you know what? Listen, I'm just going to tell you what the Lord told me to tell you, and I repeated what I just told you just now. Okay, and she said, well, I hope you're sitting down, because so-and-so asked me to marry him, and I said yes.
Oh, wow.
Exactly. Okay. and I left it alone. There was something else that the Lord shared me that I talked to her about, that happened exactly how the Lord said. But that's what happened. Okay, so here it was that we didn't speak. Nobody. There was no fly on the wall. I ain't have no YouTube or all these technologies or these little cell phone spy tools. No, this what. And lo and behold, exactly what the Lord shared with me is exactly what had happened.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and
it was the night before.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I guess he had proposed to her the night before.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so lo and behold, I guess she, based upon that, she did break it off.
Oh, real quick,
she broke it off because one thing that Lisa does have a fear of God.
Okay. Oh my God, yes.
And that's very important for you men that are looking to marry. Please marry a God-fearing woman. Because one thing I could say about a God-fearing woman is that she's gonna have your back when it comes down to God. Okay,
absolutely.
Because a lot of times, us men, we need to be reeled on in. We need that Jesus lasso around our neck. Get thee behind me, Satan. We need that tugging, that spiritual, that anointed covering. Because a lot of times as men, even though we're supposed to be the covering, it's actually the women that cover us.
Oof, hallelujah.
Because the women pray more than we pray. The women actually talk to God a lot more than we talk to God. Okay. They commune and fellowship with him more than we do. They're in his presence more. And so you better be really, if you're going to see this thing to the end, please pray for a praying, godly, God-fearing woman, okay, who has some morals or some standards, okay, who can reel you in when you're smiling and flirting with that 20-year-old, you know what I'm saying? Who can tell you about the dangers of walking down that path, because if you have a God-fearing woman, you're also going to have a good God-fearing mother to your children. Very important, and so so that's very, very important, I mean, so and so that's how it happened with us. I heard from the Lord, and the evidence of it is here today.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Evidence is there. No matter all the trials and the tribulations we went through, the seal that brought us together, kept us together, and has remained us for being here and getting ready to celebrate 25 years of marriage, has always been our love for the Lord, and our love for people. I love people. We love people. We love helping people. We love sharing our experiences. We love giving, And where did I get that from? I got that from my obviously family, one of my great examples is my aunt and uncle, who's my Aunt Betty and Uncle Leslie, who's been married, forever, and I tell you this, what, I am a better man because I am married to my beautiful wife, and I share all the time that you can take me through a billion lifetimes and I would marry her a billion times.
I would do it again. I would do absolutely. Absolutely. Oh my God.
There's no one that I can honestly say that could replace my wife.
Same
no
here.
One,
absolutely.
And I would do it. If we were in one of those, how you go through these Twilight Zone cycles, piece of stuff. You will see me and Lisa in that.
Well, see, that's what y'all gotta be thankful then, because y'all see exactly just how rare y'all relationship is. Only y'all two is meant for each other. You know what I mean? And most people don't get to necessarily recognize or find that other person that's the perfect person for them.
You know, and the thing about it, I believe that everybody has the potential and power to change their dynamics in their life. It all comes down to a decision.
Right. And because just imagine if I would have stayed in DC, I went outside, in a sense, my comfort zone, to find, or, to, in a sense, find my spouse or whatever. But if I would have stayed in DC, I may not have,
Yeah, and sometimes, you got to get out your comfort zone. You know what I mean? I tell people there's a big world out there.
It's a huge world.
If, hey, you don't always got to marry black.
No.
You can marry Asian. You can marry Portuguese. You can marry
somebody from California, Georgia. You don't have to stay in Jersey or.
I mean, there's a God knows almost 9 billion people on the planet. But at the end of the day, I just think that it's a decision. You don't have to be, a person does not have to be wallowing in, I need a good man, I'm lonely. Sometimes you have to evaluate yourself and to say, you know what, maybe the pathway and the journey that you've been on has been the wrong one all this time. Right,
absolutely.
And so maybe you need to get up out of that comfort zone, get up off that get off that journey, get off that road, and you need to go on a different road and pivot. You know what I mean? I mean, and sometimes you keep doing the same old things and keep getting the same results. Maybe the problem is you.
Right.
Yeah. Well, see, I mean, but just ending out on that and just circling back to the topic of the show, that's an individual choice, I'm sure, that people have to make. But the key to what we have here, what we talk about tonight, is that when two people make that decision together, it becomes a marriage. You know what I'm saying? When two people make that individual decision to do better and get rid of distractions and all that, then it could become a marriage. But two people got to agree to that. One person can't do that. You know what I mean? Like the other person.
Right.
The common word is union. The union means the joining of two.
Right.
Hello. I mean, one thing that a good friend of mine who's a pastor, told me a long time ago. He said marriage is the one of those greatest mysterious tools that God uses to bring out the true character of who you really are.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's like you people have to listen. I am so thankful that I am 55 and not using words like my boyfriend and my boo.
Right.
I mean, I'm very, very thankful about that. I'm very thankful that I can understand that I am not living in a temporal environment, a temporary environment. Okay. Stability to me means that I am stable forever. And that's what I work towards. I work towards stability for myself, my wife, my children. That's what legacy is all about. Legacy is all about establishing stability for generations to come. You know what I mean? And so I want my children to have a stable home. I want my wife to have a stable life. And here's why. Because if the Lord chooses to take me away now, okay, I need to know that my wife is stable, that my kids are stable, okay? And their children are stable. Why? Because they carry my name, okay? And my name must increase generationally. And it only will increase through the realm of stability. Things that are temporary, and this is where people get very frustrated and with life, because so many things that they do are not lasting. Okay, you're not lasting in your job, in your career, and so on and so forth. Guess what? When I started, when Blessed Ministry started, I was working full time, and Blessed Ministry started. Okay, and when Blessed Ministries surpassed my income that I was making for my regular job, it was a clear sign that I needed to now focus my time, energy, talents, and everything towards building stability, because I was building something to last. Okay. Okay. Now, not everything that you do is going to last. You know what I mean? You have projects here, projects there, and so on and so forth. But you need to be able to build a foundation, a strong foundation. Okay. And that's what stable things are, you know. So a strong marriage is should be stable, right? And and you shouldn't go into the marriage with, well, if it don't work out, we just get divorced.
Right.
You know what I mean? If it don't work out, we just get the divorce. Why get married in the first place? Okay.
Right.
I think we opened up actually a couple of more topics. You know what, Lisa? I think you might have inspired Sean to have his own show. Sean might be going to have his own show, give advice to men instead.
Right. Oh,
we got
yeah,
to do a men's show.
absolutely.
We got to do it. You know what I'm saying?
A men's show. That's right.
I mean, you know what? I love my wife. I love my children. I love life. I love people. You know, and what's important for me is that I love selflessly.
See,
you know? I love selflessly. You know what I mean? And you know, it's like, you know, my mother told me a long time ago when I was young. She said, "Boy, you better learn how to cook because you may not meet a good woman like me that can cook." And lo and behold, she was right. My wife doesn't cook. Okay. And guess what? I grew up in a household that's an insult to a Caribbean man. What do you mean you can't your wife there and cook? Well, she doesn't cook. Okay. Now, yes, most of the time I did most of the cooking, but obviously I'm older, I'm tired, you know what I mean? I don't do that. And thank God my kids are older, and thank God for Uber Eats. But don't get me wrong, it is expensive to run a household with a woman that can't cook. But guess what? Was I going to beat her over the head that she don't cook like most men would have done? Cook, you gotta learn to cook, you gotta cook. That's not, to me, a healthy relationship, okay? I already knew that my wife was not going to be the cook of the family, of the household, okay? But if God told me to marry this woman, which he did, I knew one thing, that he's obligated to provide for me, okay?
Finances.
You know?
What?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Somebody got to put food on the table in this household. Somebody's got to be the one. So we got to eat some way or the other. I mean, we got to gain some weight, honey. Hallelujah.
Wrap it up.
So yeah, the Lord has to provide the finances. Okay. I want to go cut down those trees and make my own money. So yeah, absolutely. You know, so he had to provide. You know what I mean? Because a need is there, right? And so at the end of the day, you know, I mean, thank God he has provided. You know, because, and this is what I tell people. You know, I mean, you have to be, you have to address life the way life is, right? That doesn't mean, complacency doesn't mean that you just sit still. Complacency means that you become content in growing, and moving forward, to better things, right? Because before you can even get to a place in life that you can move forward, first you got to get your behind up. And one thing that I think that people need to realize, especially married couples, you have to get to a point that you realize that you're stuck. And if you find that your marriage is stuck, you need to have this real conversation and reevaluate, and why are we stuck? Why are we at a standstill? You should always, as life progresses and as the world keeps turning, you should also progress.
That's right. And this is a comment that David said, whoa, you can be married and it's still unstable, but that's not a healthy marriage. That's not a healthy marriage.
Yeah, you can be married.
We're going to talk about the other aspects of relationships, in the next couple of shows. But this one's about love and marriage and the positive things. We'll talk about jealousy and cheating and all that other stuff on some upcoming shows.
Right.
Yeah.
And then in February the 21st, we have the couple. They have the book intentional foreplay. Les and Sydney Allen will be in the Urban Suite to talk about their book,
Yes.
to talk about having non-negotiables. And what does that mean, having these non-negotiables when you are looking for a spouse and being intentional about looking for a spouse, and not just intentional about looking for someone that you can rump in the sack with. So that's what they're talking about. What? That's the truth.
Rump in the sack.
Right. And then also we have something else to look forward to in March, a potential European vacation
Oh,
trip.
yes, that's right. That's right. That's right.
We might
Actually,
get
this is
some
the first
exclusive.
time I'm going away on a trip like this without my husband. It's like I'm kind of like,
Tell everybody where you're
I get no
going.
sleep for 10 days.
look.
You know, I don't sleep when my wife is not with me. I just
Yeah,
it's just,
same
I just
here.
can't
You're
sleep.
gonna be at the office 24/7.
I would probably have to work from home.
No.
'Cause that would be a mess.
But tell everybody where you're going, though, Lisa. Tell everybody where you're going.
All right. So my daughter and I, we are going to London and Paris because that's where she wants to go. So we're doing two things. I haven't told my cousin yet. So my cousin lives in Paris, so we want to visit her. And then we're going to London to visit Sean's family because she's never met them. So she's never met, no, she actually did meet my cousin in DC, but she never met her other side of the family in London. So that's where we're going.
Well,
All right.
I tell you a little secret. Most of my family in London are white, so she could be like she gonna really be the other side of the family.
Oh, well, you know what? One other quick thing.
Mhm.
Shout out to Lily. Happy birthday.
Yes,
This is-
Oh,
we
yeah,
share a
tomorrow. So it's Curtis's birthday tomorrow, too.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I brought
Yeah.
cupcakes to the
Birthday,
office
Kurt.
today.
Yes, yes,
Thank you.
yes.
And happy birthday to Lily, too.
Yes,
Thank you,
yes,
thank you.
yes. All right, my Urbanites, I just want to say thank you so very much. Thank you, honey, for coming into the Urban Suite. How was it? Did you enjoy yourself?
Woof woof to the Urbanites!
Look.
Power to the people!
I want to thank you for coming into the Urban Suite. Next week, I think we're talking about the 4 horsemen, communication, and just some other things relationship wise. But when you come into the Urban Suite, this is where you laugh, learn, cry, and grow. And don't forget to share, like, follow. And I thank you again. And on that note, Molly, take us away.
Good night, everybody.